Go ahead, Shreya.
All
We're
right.
on live on YouTube this time, as opposed to Facebook, because I couldn't get it working for some reason. So,
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the July PAC
go ahead,
meeting.
Shreya.
We have some project updates to share. We presented the Capital Partners 2655, the Alameda project in April. Our members scored it and it went for public hearing on July 13 for general plan amendment, rezoning, and negative declaration. And we observed a few changes in the project there while they were presenting it to the council. And I would like to share those changes. And we are working with the developer if we could rescore this project again with the changes. We were excited to see some increase in bicycle spaces. And then the parking spaces were increased by 6 stalls, and the ratio increased to 0.09. And they have, while we scored the project had 1 and 2 bedroom units only. And while they presented in front of the city council, they have added 3 bedroom units as well to the project. So we were present to advocate for this project. We presented our voice and the score that members put in, and we are working with the developer for this. We could have a quick round of introductions. I would start from myself. I am Shreya Choksi, Manager of Development Projects at Catalyze SV. And we can go ahead with Alex.
Okay. And Shreya, while we're doing that, do you want to check in, see if we can track down the developer? I don't see them here yet. I don't see Melanie. So, hey, everyone, I'm Alex. I'm also on Catalyze SV's staff and excited to see everyone. While Shreya's working on that, maybe I'll popcorn it around if that's okay, or just call on people if that's okay. So let's go to Catherine and then Martha and then Reed.
Hi, I'm Catherine Hedges. I've been a member of Catalyze SV for, I forget how long, since before the pandemic. And I'm also in research and some other groups around town. I'm actually missing the Rex meeting, and I'm glad to be here. Pronouns are she and her.
And I think you said my name next.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Martha Krieger. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm coming to you from Ohlone Land in Alameda County from Fremont. I'm with the Office of Senator Aisha Wahab. Super excited to be here, and have been watching Catalyze SV. And so I really wanted to attend a meeting, and Alex said I was welcome. So really happy to introduce myself and happy to meet you all.
Hi, my name is Reed. I'm based out of Mountain View. I'm a real estate broker, but very much interested in affordable housing for our society, as we certainly do need it very much. Relatively new member, but happy to be on board.
Thanks, Reed. Good to see you. Let's go next to Ryan, then Casey, and then Jake, then Tony.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Karubin. I've been a member of Catalyze SV for right around 6-7 years now. Been involved with community engagement committee as well as project advocacy committee. I work in affordable housing over the last 10 years. Live and raise my family here in Fremont, where Martha works. Hey, Martha. Glad to meet everyone. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me or see me? I don't know if this is working. I'm Casey, and I've been with Catalyze SV for a few months now. I live in Los Altos. I'm really passionate about affordable housing. and a lot of other issues. My background is sustainable design and construction, and so I enjoy supporting the work of Catalyze SV. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jake. I've been a member with Catalyze SV for also at least a couple months now. And I am also a student at SJSU studying geography and urban planning.
I think it's my turn. Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Romero, community organizer and co-director with Latinos United for New America. This is my first meeting. I'm very excited to be here. Very excited to see all faces. Hi, Eugene. How are you? Yeah, and very excited to learn about Catalyze SV and the proposals being proposed. Thank you.
Okay, Eugene?
My name is Eugene Bradley. I definitely plan on being a member of Catalyze SV. I'm just a guest right now. When I'm not being a guest at Catalyze SV, I run a public transit advocacy and watchdog group known as the Silicon Valley Transit Users. Just noticed several interesting things about what's being proposed today, which I'll bring up during the proposal discussion. Next person, please.
I think that might be everyone. Yeah. I think that's everyone. Okay, well, we looks like we've got a little delay maybe from our developer here tonight. So Shreya had a good suggestion that we talk about next month's project because it's a really exciting one. And it's a first for us. I think Reed and Casey in particular will be excited because we're traveling up the peninsula a little bit. Shreya, do you want to say anything more about the project or do you want me to?
You can take over.
Okay, so we've been talking for many, many months with an organization called the Mountain View Coalition for Sustainable Planning and talking about our shared values and seeing if there are opportunities to score a project in Mountain View together. And so we found a project, we found a developer, we found one that's early enough. We think that the community input from you all will be valuable and heard and considered. So we're really excited. Our first time working in Mountain View. When we do work in newer communities, because most of our work's been in San Jose and Santa Clara, we like to find partner organizations that can work on projects with us. So we have I would say, a modest or a moderately loose partnership with Mountain View Coalition for Sustainable Planning on this project. In essence, we're going to get in a room together. We're going to hear the developer just like we do at our normal meetings. Catalyze SV members will ask questions as they normally do. Then we'll score the project. But Mountain View Coalition for Sustainable Planning will not score the project. They might listen to our scores or watch our scores. And then we'll find points of commonality thereafter, and we'll work on collaborating around our advocacy. So when there are moments to show up at community meetings or city council meetings or meet with council members or planning staff, we'll do that in collaboration, focus on what we share in common. And so we'll be able to be in the room with some Mountain View residents, hopefully besides Reed, who's from Mountain View, and score the project together. We'll be able to learn a little bit more about that organization, the landscape of Mountain View. Most of you know that this project, you're seeing 843 Castro Street on the screen. That's in downtown Mountain View, right, I believe at El Camino Real. So a very prominent site. And when Shreya and I met with the developer maybe it was last week, they were very enthusiastic about going through our process. And so we're really excited about that. So we've got the sense of how it's going to work with Mountain View Coalition for Sustainable Planning. And we're excited to work in a new community with a new partner and sort of share our approach to project advocacy, this yes and approach that we've pioneered here in Silicon Valley. We're excited to work on a new organization or with a new organization, new community. So any questions about that?
Hey, Alex, this is Eugene.
Hey,
I want to talk to you more, you and Rockio more in particular about working together because I see a lot of things in common with a lot of these projects that Catalyze SV approves. They're near BTA bus and rapid bus lines and even light rail. So I want to talk with you more about working with you guys on these projects. So these projects, when done correctly, will also help drive public transit ridership and help get people off the roads, not have to drive everywhere when when planned properly.
okay, cool. Yeah, happy to talk offline, Eugene. Yeah. And yes, you're right. We do a lot of transit-oriented development. That's the name of the game. Any other questions about this next month project? Same bat channel, same bat time. So we'll be right back here at 6:30. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Shreya, can we go back to this month's project? So we're gonna pivot a little bit. This doesn't usually happen to us, and we apologize, but I don't see the developer present here tonight. So we're gonna actually try and present the project for the developer as best as we can. So please be patient and give grace to Shreya as she works to do that. She's our project expert, and of course, we expect the developer to know even more. And so Shreya will do the best she can to present the project, and we'll decide based on your input whether we should go ahead and score it tonight or whether you want to hold off based on the information that we have. But we have scored projects before without a developer present, and so I think we can do it tonight, hopefully, if Shreya's got enough information. So we're gonna have to sort through some stuff and just be patient with us. Shreya, any comments or questions before we try and dive in?
I just received a mail from Melanie. She is joining in a while, so if you could wait for 2 minutes while she joins in.
Okay, great. While we're doing that, Shreya, why don't we pull up on the screen? I'll go ahead and do it if it's okay. The scoring process, because we've got a couple new folks. Reed, I think you're eligible to score a project tonight. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And so let's walk a little bit. We've got Tony joining us for the first time. We've got Martha joining us for the first time. So let's walk through a little bit about how we're doing it. And Casey and Ryan and Jake and Catherine, we appreciate your patience. But Eugene and others might want to see this. So what we'll do here is we'll go through and put in folks' names as we always do with their scores. And they can just mark that they're a member. And then we'll go through and score the project based on what we learned from Melanie in a couple minutes. And then we ask for qualitative comments here on each of the categories. And those qualitative comments really help us score the project in terms of offering input to the developer on how the project could be made better, what you really like about it. So Casey, you're really good at this. I must say, sometimes the more you write, the better, because it makes Shreya's job easier to come up with your feedback. If you're not a member tonight, but you do have opinions, I'd say go down to the bottom here and one of the last cells, and you could put in like Eugene, and you could add in your input anyway. You won't be eligible to score the project until you become a member, but we can still look at your feedback and consider it as well. So we'll do that around 8:15, I'm guessing tonight is our hope. And so we're excited to see you all score that. Let's be honest, stalling for time, let's go to the project categories so folks can see how we're going to score the project based on these criteria that I'm showing on the screen. So when we get to the Q&A portion of the meeting, if you could please ask questions in this order. So Shreya and I will call for, hey, any questions on community, any questions on vibrancy, any questions on transportation. When Melanie gets here, if you could hold off your questions until she's done presenting, that would be great. Oh,
Yeah.
there's Melanie.
I'm here. Sorry about that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for your patience. We've got Melanie here. Shreya, do you want to introduce and lead things off?
Sure. So we have a project that is in East Julian Street in San Jose, and we have Melanie Griswold from HISTA Real Estate presenting that project today. It is a construction of 7-story building with 140 apartments on a 0.97 acre site, and we attended the community meeting that was back to a month or two. So Melanie, you can take over and present.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I apologize. I didn't have this meeting on my calendar. So I got the message at 6:40. It's like, oh no. So I'm gonna give the presentation that I had from the community meeting we did with the city of San Jose. And then I'll pull up some of the architectural components of it too. So I apologize. I'm kind of going off the fly here, but we've had a couple community meetings, and so I'll try and go from that. But thank you for everybody for waiting. I really appreciate it. And I apologize that you guys had to wait for me. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to be able to present. So maybe I can pull up, is it okay if I share my screen? Okay, I'll do that. Looks like I've got to do that. Okay, so here's my screen, and let's go to view slideshow. Let's see, slideshow beginning. Okay, so as Shreya mentioned, this is the East Julian Street residential redevelopment project. We did have a community meeting back in April of 2023. So the team on this project, so I'm the land use consultant, and the owners are a local group of real estate development folks and some agents. This is their first larger project. They've done mostly some fix and flips and some smaller subdivisions, but this is their first larger project. On the architectural team, we're working with a studio called 10 Over. They're based out of San Luis Obispo, and Aisling Burke and Ellen Hassett are our main architects on it. We have a local engineering firm, GMH Weiss, Nick Brown and Austin Lynn on the civil engineering side. And on the landscape, Jay Isaacson, who's done a lot of local projects. So that's our team. And just to give you a little bit of the history of the site, so it's 2 parcels, and as you can see, they're very long and skinny. So it's quite a narrow site, even though it is approximately an acre. So we've got 2 lots. Right now we have older single family residents on each lot, and probably some unpermitted units that have been there for a long time. The homes are old and in quite poor condition. There's been a historic resource evaluation. They found the homes to have no historic value, but it is very, very close to high quality transit. So if we go back to the screen before, you can see that here's the site location, and here's where the planned BART is. So it's really, I think it's 0.2 miles from the planned BART station. And it's also adjacent to higher density multifamily. And I'm not sure the current status of the project, maybe you guys would know, but there was that large project that was being planned for the Five Wounds Urban Village. This site is actually just adjacent to the Five Wounds Urban Village, so it's not part of the urban village. And so these are some of the pictures of the current homes. So as you can see, they're not really in great condition. From a land use perspective, so as I mentioned, it's adjacent to the Five Wounds Urban Village. And originally it had a mixed use neighborhood general plan and zoning designation. So that would only allow 30 dwelling units per acre. So we went to the city, gosh, I think it was back in 2019 or even 2020, sometime around that time, and had talked to the city about whether we could upzone the property. And at that time, the city was not in favor of doing any sort of upzoning. And so we got pretty far along with a application for a 38 unit project. So that was one that was just using some density bonus, really maxing out the site, but with the allowable density that was there. So I think it was basically a 3-story structure, tuck under parking. And when we went through that process, it really didn't work. It didn't pencil out. But sort of also more importantly, it just seemed like such a waste for this particular site, so close to high quality transit. You've got multifamily right around it. And then with the city's focus on intensifying the development in the Five Balloons urban village, it just seemed like a real shame to have this 1 acre parcel have essentially a pretty low density on it. So we went back to the city and we said, really, are you sure you don't want to upzone here? There's all these great reasons why it really makes sense. And they ultimately agreed with us. So we went through the general plan change rezoning back in, I think we started maybe early 2022 or late 2021, I can't remember. And got the general plan change in early 2022. So now it's zoned urban residential. And as I'm sure you all know, because you guys are so familiar with this, now we can do up to 95 dwelling units per acre. So that's where we are at right now. And so we are pretty far along in the project. I think we're on either the third or I think we're on the 4th round of submission, and we've cleared most of the comments on it. Right now, we're really just working on the CEQA aspect and trying to just make sure that we don't move ourselves into an EIR. And so right now I've got some comments back about whether we can do electric construction equipment, and I'm not even sure that exists, but I've got some calls out to some general contractors as to whether we can accept that condition and have electric powered construction equipment during the construction. But as mentioned, it's walking distance to the planned BART station. We're planning for 140 new rental housing units, which is the maximum that would be allowed with a maximum density bonus of 50%, and 5 floors of residential over 2 levels of on-grade parking. We have 91 bike parking lockers on site, and we are incorporating on-site affordable units into the design. So the layout of the property it's really designed to be workforce and sort of more family friendly housing options. So we have a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom layouts. And so they range from smaller 1 bedrooms at about 550 to 630 square feet. So not small, but also not really large, to 2 bedrooms that are probably on a little bit the smaller side at 700 to 750 square feet. And then some 3 bedrooms, which are 910 to 1,030 square feet. And so each of these bedrooms and layouts was also designed in mind with the potential of being eligible for tax credit financing. So one of the potential goals on this building is to go 100% affordable, although it's not really located where the city's affordable housing siting policy is so much in favor. So I'm not sure that it will get whether it will get like the community funds committed to it. So the owners are currently in some talks with some affordable housing developers, thinking about whether this site could work for that. It is probably difficult right now to get it out of the ground as a market rate building with on-site affordable, just because of the construction costs and interest rates. So that's in the works, or at least that's sort of in the background of the entitlements, is thinking about can it be a building that's eligible for 100% affordable? The on-site parking option, so there is 2 levels of on-grade parking, and right now we have just under 1 space per unit. The 2 levels of the parking does provide the option of reducing that parking pretty easily if someone were to decide that they didn't want to park it with that number. But if it is a market rate project, especially with having 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms, this is a fairly low parking ratio at the 1 space per unit. But it could be reduced further, and certainly in our discussions with some affordable housing folks, if it were to go 100% affordable, they would likely reduce that 1 level of parking and take it down. So actually, and I've got to check because I've got here the bike parking is 107, but back on my other screen I had 91. So I'm not sure which one is correct. One of those is correct. But anyway, so we've got more than the required bike parking by a substantial number. So some of the key landscape features. So we have these courtyards that are interspersed within the building. So the building really functions as an E. And so that is to maximize some of the passive natural energy flow. And if the architects were here, they would talk more about that, how they did design it with that in mind, but it's also really to provide the required egress and that sort of thing. So you can see that a little bit better in that, I think that first image here. So you've got the courtyards that are tucked inside here, tucked on this side, and then at the front here, to kind of break up the facade of a larger building. So this is the main courtyard area, and then it connects to community space within that 3rd floor there. And so you see actually here the community space, and we have potential support offices, again, with the idea in mind that the building is set up pretty well to do 100% affordable if that's where the city and potentially county funding sources can support. So the courtyards are planned with private pet area, community garden, children's play area, bocce ball court. So nothing that fancy, but things that are really designed to be community and family friendly and in line with the workforce, family supportive housing. We have an increased tree count over what is currently on site. So there's 50 on-site trees, and what's planned is 64 24-inch box trees. And of course, with the water efficient landscaping and native plants. The planned on-site affordable units. So we have currently right now, it is just being permitted with the minimum number to achieve the 50% density bonus and to comply with affordable housing compliance plan. And that is to provide whomever ends up actually building it with the greatest flexibility to actually ensure it gets out of the ground, which is really hard right now. But those would be affordable to extremely low income housing. So low income housing, let me back up. Affordable to extremely low income households. And those are making under 30% of AMI. So really, really low income housing here. But I think there's quite a good chance that that this building does go as 100% affordable. Our density bonus requests are pretty limited. It was just to increase the number of allowable units, and it was a reduction in the private open space, which is to eliminate the balconies, which are expensive to maintain and kind of pose a lot of problems for ongoing maintenance for a building. So as a sort of general matter, most developers do not want to be constructing those balconies because of liability and that. And so we did ask for those balconies to come out. architectural inspiration and design. So this was the portion of the presentation where at the community meeting, I turned it over to our awesome architects who went through all of their inspiration, but they did try and use some materials that would make it look sort of more expensive, more vibrant. I think that they did a nice job of incorporating some glass and some colors that make it look a little bit different, a little bit more stylish than the average unit. And I'm going to see if I can actually stop the share and pull up the plan set so we can kind of go through some of those as well. Let me see what I can find.
Melanie, can you share the link to that presentation?
Yeah, sure. I can definitely do that. Let me see if I can find architectural plans.
Do you want me to share the submittal set?
What's that?
Do you want me to share the plans from the submittal set?
Sure, yeah. And actually let me pull up this entitlement packages. So this was from our second submittal, but I think we actually did not have any comments after this on architectural. So it's pretty, so this was, I was trying to scroll through to get to some of the stuff at the bottom. This is what it looks like from the front and from the side here, and so they did try to use again that passive energy, open without having mechanical ventilation in the garage. And so that is this north and south. This is a view that view that we had in my presentation, and then another view of that same building. And then what they tried to do with the colors was really to reduce the mass of the building because it is taller than the apartments that are on the one side. And then there are some single family homes on the Worcester side, although they are all zoned for higher intensity use. So potentially, down the road, they may be developed with higher intensity uses. But the darker colors were implemented at the top to try and make it not look as massive. And then, and I think they also were going with these, with the white color for some energy benefits. But that's where I'd have to look to them to discuss that. And then we have some awnings and recesses in the window to try and create some natural shielding of glare for the people inside the units. That's another view from the side and from the top. And I do believe that we have rooftop solar being planned for the rooftop as well. So that's the, that's the basic on the architecture. I'm happy to share that as well. And then this is a little old right now, but just basically working with the city to finalize the submission of the environmental clearance and affordable housing plan. I believe that we've gotten our affordable housing plan cleared. And then we're expecting to go to hearing in probably late September, maybe early October, and hopefully to begin construction and building permit next year. And if all goes well, occupancy in a couple of years there. And so then that's my my contact information if you guys have any questions, but may have questions here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. But take it easy on me because I'm not as prepared as I would like to have been.
All right, we can go ahead with a few questions we have in the chat, and then we'll go category wise. If anyone has any question before the developer leaves. We have a question from Casey. If you could share the slides, and what are the factors for deciding if it will be 100% affordable?
I think the number one factor is whether the city will commit or county will commit any funding to it. So from what I understand, I'm not a affordable housing developer, but if we can show committed funding, then it'll make it more likely to be able to get other sources of funding. So it's eligible for a few different potential pots, although it's in what I believe is a low resource area. So it doesn't score as well as a project that's in a high resource area, although it's very close to high quality transit. So, but if we can get the city to commit funding to it, then it's likely we can have it go 100% affordable.
All right, and then we have comment from Catherine saying the top floor is going to get hot between being on the top level and having such a dark color. So
yeah, I'm not sure how that works exactly. I mean, I do think that the overall color scheme of the building was meant to reflect away the light, and there are some awnings that were planned to reduce that, and I believe that actually the sun coming into the building was something that came up in a comment during the community meeting. So I recall our architects had worked to try and implement some measures to actually reduce the amount of sun that comes into those units, particularly on the south elevation. So this may not be the most current version of that, but that was something that they were thinking about.
all right, thanks. And then Catherine, do you have any comment over that?
Yeah, I did type that comment in the chat before I saw the white roof. I think the white reflective roof is a good idea. I mean, excellent idea. But I live in a building on the 5th floor, no shade, facing southwest, and it just heats up. Even though we have awnings and balconies that protrude and everything, it heats up and it stays hot well into the night.
All right, we shall move to the next question from Casey. Are you planning to go beyond LEED Silver on this project?
I don't think so at this point. This project is a little challenging because the rents are not that high in this area, and the construction costs are still the same as they would be whether you're building in Los Altos or Mountain View or Sunnyvale. So it's a challenging project. So right now it really is designed sort of with not promising anything more that we can, but that said, once you get into actually operating the building, sometimes these things really do make sense from an economic standpoint. So that would be something that we'd be looking at in the building permit phase.
All right, thank you. Casey, do you have any comments over that?
No, that's fine, thanks.
All right, then let's jump over the categories, and if anyone has any questions regarding that particular category can come in. The first is community. We are looking at the amount of community engagement done so far.
Yeah, so we had the San Jose community meeting. Let me try to make sure that I keep all my projects straight. We did have community meetings when we're also doing the general plan amendment. I don't think we've actually met with any of the community organizations in the neighborhood yet. we didn't have a lot of interest actually at the general plan amendment stage. I think we only had a couple of people attend those meetings, and that was kind of the same thing for the city community meetings. So far it's sort of been one where it doesn't seem to have gotten a lot of interest. We did reach out, of course, to the council member for the community meetings as well. And so that's really this, and the city-led meetings are what we've done.
Okay, anyone has any question? All right, then let's move to the next category, that's vibrancy. For vibrancy, we saw in the project, we have 3 courtyards and some color scheme playing around. Any more comments from you, Melanie?
No, other than I think, let me see if I can figure out what I think it was like a metal style panel siding on the front, which I think is, I personally really like, and I liked also the materials that were used and planned for the bottom floor. I mean, so often you just see just stucco, and I had such a affordable and yet really boring material. So I loved seeing what 10 Over did here. I thought they did a really nice job with incorporating some of that glass to make it look more expensive, more inviting from the ground floor, even though because it's a really narrow site, we had to have some pretty long frontage along here. Like there's the garage entrance, and then there's mechanical rooms that have to be here where it's accessible to the street. But I still think that the frontage is pretty engaged, despite what sort of the site constraints that they were working with. And I also like that we've got this cutout and a courtyard that is that's going to be visible from the street.
I've got a quick question. I saw you're going up to 64 trees on site. Is that correct? Are those primarily in the courtyards or in frontage, or where are they located in relation to the building?
Actually, a really good question. Where all of those streets or the trees are being planted. And some of them are being planned on the courtyard, and then along the sides as well. And but it must be just given the constraints of the site that it is planned along the courtyards.
All right, anyone, any questions?
This is no commercial retail on your bottom floor, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not required, but it is. I'm just going to go back to the first floor plan. It actually would be pretty hard to do commercial here because if you look at if you look at the available area, you actually, I think this the trash has to have access to the front. And then we've got elevator, stair, and lobby. So you really don't actually have any space to put commercial here because all of these things are necessary aspects to get into the building and to provide services to the building.
All right, then let's move to the next category, that's transportation. So how well the mobility solutions are addressed in the project? Anyone has any questions?
Hey, this is Ryan. Melanie, what is your understanding with this? The timeline with the city approving the BART station?
Oh, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that there's a lot to be done on the VTA tunnel, and I mean, I think it could be a long time away.
Ryan, is your question when it would open?
No, well, yeah, but then when the approvals was, so I think there's going to be a council hearing this November, December. Is that there was some community engagement.
I'm not sure the council has to approve anything.
I thought I read it somewhere that
I
we're
don't
going to go to a
think they
hearing.
have, I don't
No?
think they have jurisdiction over the project. The TOD that VTA might want to develop around the site,
Mhm.
the development of private developers like this project might be affected by the project, but I don't think the city can give a yay or nay on BART Phase 2.
Yeah, I just thought I saw
This is
Uh,
all
a
VTAs
document.
and
I'll need to dig that
Yeah.
up. I thought I saw that.
I mean, I
Some-
think that they need to bridge some pretty significant funding gaps right now. And I actually have another project, which I think you guys reviewed, where we're dealing with the VTA tunnel easement request right now as well. And at least from our perspective on that, VTA really did not offer a very fair compensation for the easement, and so that is currently in litigation, and I would imagine that there's going to be other property owners that are also going to be fighting with VTA and BART over the easement right. So it seems like it's complicated from a funding standpoint, complicated from technically being able to get the easements and all of it. So I'm not sure really.
Okay.
Yeah, we hope it'll be roughly concurrent with the opening of the building. I think that would be really good for the project and the viability of and vibrancy of the area. But we're sort of not holding out our hopes it's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm looking at the city website. There is actually a public hearing scheduled for this December 23. The recommendation of the planning commission will then be provided in a similar presentation to the city council for this
right.
the station.
Right. I was also going to mention the project based on its address. It's right on VTA 64A and 64B bus lines, which serve downtown. They also serve the nearby various BART station. So that could be used instead as the BART project bundles underneath downtown from Santa Clara in and up eventually through Berryessa. When that will be, nobody knows right now at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's a really great location, and so a lot can happen with the location, but there's some things with the powers that be that need to happen as well.
sounds good. Thanks.
All right, then we can go to the next category. That's sustainability. We have information so far saying rooftop solar is to be installed, and we do not have any consideration of beyond lead silver. Anything else you want to mention, Melanie?
I think just the community garden that is planned, the bike parking that is over and above what's required, and the location. But yeah, other than that, and considering some of the, I suppose, like the passive energy for passive ventilation for the garage, the shading of the windows, I'm not sure that we're going sort of above and beyond. I think we're trying to do what makes sense to get the project built here.
All right, thanks. Any questions, anyone?
I have the one feedback from Melanie. You mentioned wanting to do electric or clean energy for the construction, which I'm excited to hear about. And I shared a resource with you on the chat for motion power, or Moxion power rather. And that is, they provide clean, sustainable energy for construction sites and other types of applications. And it could be a great fit for your project. Might be worth checking out.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, because when I got the suggestion, I'm all for it, but I'm just not sure that the construction companies have that equipment or are using it. Like, so, I mean, the technology may be there, but if none of the big contractors who do commercial projects have that equipment, I'm reluctant to commit to it unless I know that it is truly feasible. But so if you guys have any suggestions on how to make it feasible, it would be awesome. So I appreciate it, because sometimes people just do what they're familiar with, and there are other solutions out there, and it just needs somebody like you, Casey, finding it out where oh yeah, we can do it. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I think if you reach out to Moxion, I know some larger contractors have started to use it. I don't know exactly if they own the units or if it's more like rental, just like a lot of temporary power is like a rental thing for construction. I'm not sure exactly what the model is, but I'm sure there's some opportunity there. So
cool, awesome. That sounds great.
All right, so quickly moving to next category, intensity and zoning. We see that you have 7 stories going on for 140 beds units.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically I think it's a density of 143 dwelling units per acre.
Anyone, any questions?
yeah, I had a question. Just that 100, the amount of units per acre right now, was that already approved by the city, or is that still in discussion?
That's already approved.
Great.
Yeah, that was approved through the general plan and rezoning in 2022.
Okay, so yeah, I thought you were going higher, but are you going higher because of the density bonuses for affordable housing?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly.
How high can you go on this site now with density bonuses and the general plan amendment?
We can do 140 without going 100% affordable. And so if it does go 100% affordable, there's potential, we've had some discussions around senior housing. And if that were the case, then we would probably reduce the unit size and then try and increase that unit count. I think we'd be able to do approximately another 20 units. And so do that within the same footprint. So I don't think that the building's going to get bigger, but the units might get chopped up differently.
Thank
And
you.
that would really depend. This is Ryan. That would really depend on the parking concessions you can get is 100% affordable, and getting to a building typology that's financially and cost efficient and feasible.
Right.
Versus a 2-story garage.
Yeah, exactly. If it does go 100% affordable, I think the parking will get cut, because
yes,
we really don't need to park it at any standard anymore. That's something that would be really easily attainable, is to reduce the parking. And so especially if it were as a senior, that you would probably be losing the second for parking, reduce the unit count, bring it down a floor. But it's right now the type 3 over type 1. And I don't think that the podium and type 3 would change. And it wouldn't make sense to do anything higher because we don't have the units. And also then that would be too expensive.
yes. That's probably why it doesn't pencil as a market rate where the rents are today there in that area, and that building, that
right
construction costs
Right,
High
right,
point construction
exactly.
costs. Mhm.
Yeah, but I mean, things do have a way of changing, and if the construction cost came down or cost of money came down, then it might work out, or it may end up, as we see, potentially doing the 100% affordable route.
Right. And we also have to factor interest rates
Exactly. Yeah.
much
exactly.
higher today. Mhm.
Yeah, I know things have changed a lot in the last couple of years. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a question, Melanie, if you can pull up the floor plans for the bedroom, each of the units again, the 2-3 bedroom units. and the
Yeah.
one-
You see that?
No,
Oh, I thought I was sharing it. Okay. Okay, let me go back into it. Oops, I thought you were looking at it. I was like,
oh yeah, there we go.
okay.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at this, and I really like the layout of the designs quite a bit, but I did have a question, because like on the 3-bedroom units, I'm just curious your thought process or the architect's thought process, but the bedrooms are quite generous in sizing, and the living room is quite small, especially for a 3-bedroom. What are you guys thinking about that?
That's a good question. So, I think that's true. Like at 11 by 13 is maybe a little bit bigger than you'd see. Often you see maybe 10 by 11 or 10 by 12, although I actually really feel like that's pretty small when they're actually built. But this is really just a typical layout. It's not, there is some variation in the layouts. So I would imagine it does change from one unit to another. So this one here is, I'm not sure what this particular layout corresponds to in terms of the square footage range here. But I tend to think that 11 by 12 is a reasonable size bedroom, but you're right. I mean, the living room could be a little bit bigger there as well.
We don't usually get into this specificity on the layout, and yet Casey's question, I'm looking at that 3-bedroom, Melanie, and
Yeah,
I'm looking at the kitchen with the 2 seats. A 3-bedroom with 2 seats in a kitchen. I mean, there's just not that much space for actually sitting down and eating.
right.
So,
Right. Yeah, I mean, and
concerned by
there's
that.
probably different ways that you could design the layout on this, but yeah, that's right. I mean, I probably have to say, I don't think I looked as closely at the 3-bedroom layout as maybe I should have.
Yeah.
When we
So
get into the building permit aspect, I think that these layouts will be dialed in more closely as well.
I think you mentioned that 3 bedrooms were added. They weren't initially in the original design. Is that correct? It was mostly 1 and 2s. What was the reason for adding the 3 bedrooms in?
We had the 3 bedrooms from pretty close to from the beginning, because tax credit financing for a sort of a regular affordable, it needs to see some 3 bedrooms. And in fact, they may actually want to see more 3 bedrooms in the plans too. So, but it always seems to change in that some pots of money want to have a higher percentage of 3 bedrooms. And so we kind of took a middle ground here of providing some 3 bedrooms that do meet that minimum size threshold. So that was the thinking. And I guess actually one other thing on that. So it's a lot easier to move from 3 bedrooms down to 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms, and it's much harder to plan to move up to the 3 bedrooms down the road, is what I learned, because of the 3 bedrooms. Each of those bedrooms need those windows and or egress, and So like the 3 bedrooms really need to be laid out in corners to be able to provide that. So that was another consideration, was trying to put them in at the beginning, and then you could always take them out if you wanted to.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
All right. So we can move to next category, that's affordability. As I understand, it is 14 affordable units serving low to extremely low income, that is less than 30% AMI. And we have a split of 8, 3, and 3 bedrooms. So anyone, any questions?
Yeah, just a comment or question. I know that you mentioned or I heard that it could be considered 100% affordability if the funding can be obtained. Is there like usually like a deadline by when a decision has to be made if it could be 100% affordable?
No, there's really no deadline. There's rolling deadline. So there was a supernova, I think in July. So if the project had been fully entitled by that point, we would have been able to apply for some funding in July, but we didn't have CEQA done, unfortunately. I should really advocate for CEQA reform. It's such a pain. And it's held up so many projects with kind of going through just the same checklist of information, and it's pretty frustrating. But anyways, so as soon as it's fully entitled, then the project will be able to apply for whatever funding comes available. And so I anticipate, given the sort of macro environment right now, that it will probably take some time to gather those funding sources, whether it is private funding to do market rate or public funding to be able to go 100% affordable. And they'll just keep on trying with different pots of money to see if they can get that initial commitment and then build on it.
Tony, I will say that sometimes there are developers who will try to make changes after they've gotten their project approved to the council on the affordability question, or they come really late in the game. So after Melanie gets off, even though you're not a scoring member, if you'd like to make that argument to our members that you think the project would be better as 100% affordable, I think that's valuable input. And from what I know of Melanie, she's open to that input and is looking at that option, as she said here tonight. So just in case that's helpful, Tony, I wanted to share that with you and the other members here tonight.
Yeah, and Alex, that was of the people that attended our community meeting on the project in April. A lot of the community members actually voiced that same thing. They're like, this isn't a market rate area. This is an area where we need high quality, affordable housing. What can we do with the city to get them to support it here? And we had the city on that meeting. It was a city-led meeting. And so, I was sort of like, putting it out there to you guys, we just need that commitment because we are ready and game and, have put out the feelers to lots of affordable folks, and sort of just getting that same feedback. We just need the city to support it.
Hey, Melanie, this is Ryan. How difficult, or would you see it challenging to get this site re-entitled after your entitlements are approved later this year to, say, smaller units or less parking, and look at it as a 100% affordable project, as we were just talking about?
It will be pretty easy. It would be likely just a site development permit amendment to do that, especially if we're reducing the height on it. Sorry, I just got my little one who's here. And so, yeah, I don't think it would be that that it would be that difficult. If we increase the number of units, then we probably do need to do some sort of addendum to the initial study. But the affordable units typically have a lower impact on from CEQA anyways, however they count their stuff. And so I really don't think it would be that much of an issue. We just need to kind of get the first entitlement, and then we can always make changes from there.
And what reports are you waiting on for your CEQA approvals? Are you looking at a traffic study, a air quality report?
Yeah, I have not gotten our comments yet on traffic. I think Hexagon was doing a second, they had to do some updates on the traffic, and I don't think I've actually seen the city's comments on that yet. And then, but we're in the second draft of the administrative or the initial study. And I think right now it's the air quality aspect that we need to figure out with the potentially either reanalyzing it from how it would get built, with providing we'd use default numbers, and we may have to use like more specific numbers for the construction so that we see whether we're under that threshold for air quality impacts.
Okay. And then just going back to affordable housing, could we use those CEQA documents and those studies if we were to switch over to a different design, as long as we're within a similar unit count? Is that your understanding?
Yeah, I think it would probably just be an addendum.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, most of the work could be redone, but because of CEQA, it's still going to take 6 months to get it, re-entitled. But I just don't think it's not going to be it's not that complicated. It's just a little time consuming.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, moving to the next category, that's legacy. I have one question for that. There's a plan to demolish 2 single-family units. Is there any displacement happening?
Oops, sorry, I'm having my kid is I think it's typing on my screen. Yes, there are, one of the properties has been occupied more by some of the construction workers and that were working with the owner. And so it's been rented by the room, very sort of transitory, short-term tenants. The other one has a longer term tenant. I don't think they're very, very long-term. I think that they became a tenant when the owners purchased it in about 2019, 2020. But we have done the replacement unit analysis, provided that to the city as part of the affordable housing compliance plan, and we're replacing all of the low-income housing units as part of the project. And I'm not sure whether it's mandated to provide relocation assistance or not, because I don't think the units count under the Ellis Act stuff, but I'll have to look at what the conditions are.
All right, thanks. And the next question is, do you have any plans to provide VTA passes to the residents?
Right now, no, just for the reasons we've discussed too. It's already hard enough to get it off the ground, but I do think that those would be great. It's obviously in an awesome location for that. So I think that would be an excellent idea, but probably one that would be difficult to commit to at this point.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I have a question about the transportation and management. Does the city offer options if transit passes are not provided?
I don't think so. I mean, I was working on a project, the Blossom Hill VTA signature project, which is ground lease from VTA. And even in that situation, I don't think we were getting any discount from VTA to pass it. And that was their land. So from the city's perspective, I mean, they are so tight on their budget that I don't think they'd be providing that. But it sure would be a great way to increase ridership if we could, do have some of these maybe more affordable passes. And, it's one of those vicious cycles. Unless you have the ridership, it's hard to support these projects. And unless you have the projects, you don't really have the ridership. And so, but yeah, so I'm with you, but I just don't know that I can commit to it on behalf of the developer.
Yeah, Tony, it's something that transit demand management plan that the city is now often asking their developers to do instead of mandating how much car parking to build. And we advocated for the policy change last year to emphasize more sustainable ways of getting around. So definitely with you on that. Thanks for bringing that up. And to Melanie's point, we've also advocated for transit passes more. So we might have that come up later on in our voting and discussion.
Yeah, sometimes I think haven't we advocated for developers to provide at least the first year on a transit pass, something like that?
Yeah, I think we've gone much further than the first year. Yes.
Okay. And I had another question, Melanie. I think you said that you might be providing solar panels on the project. Can you speak more about that?
Yeah, I think solar is planned for the roof.
Do you know how much of the power needs that would provide? I don't know how big that system is, or
I do not know that. I can try and look that up or ask the architects.
okay, thanks.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Melanie, for presenting, and so sorry for the miscommunication over here.
No, it's my fault. So thank you for being patient, folks.
Any last questions for Melanie? Hey, Melanie, can you share maybe in the chat function your cell with Shreya in case she has any last questions? We start to vote and then we're like, oh, we forgot to ask Melanie that. And
yeah, sure. No problem.
Just helpful to have that ability to check in with you really quick.
That sounds good.
Despite all the things you're juggling literally right now.
Yeah, like my personal little wildcat here.
Yeah. So if no one else has any questions, we will allow Melanie to get the rest of her night back, and Shreya will check in with her in the next 45 minutes if we have any other questions. But yeah, everyone have all the information they need. Who's scoring the project to score it based on Melanie's presentation, and Shreya will of course be here as well to help guide us. Well, good to see you again, Melanie. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your work. If y'all wouldn't mind, if we can, as a show of appreciation, just give a hand for Melanie, that would be great.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And Shreya, I'm also going to send you that entitlement package as well. So if you guys want to look at the plans, you can look at that. But it is the second version, but it's pretty similar to what we have now.
All right. Thank you so much, Melanie. Also, quickly, if you could throw some light over progress on the West Julian project.
Oh, West Julian. So right now, I believe that the owner is just working on plans. So we haven't actually submitted any project on that, but I know that that is the intention, but I haven't seen any plans yet, but it was actually on my list to check in with them and see where we're at with the project plans.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
You too. You too. Bye, everyone. See you later.
Okay. So now we're going to take the meeting, which is usually off on Facebook.